Hello everyone, welcome to another art stream from Soma. This is Erin, and today I'm going to do a couple paint overs of a mill to kind of redesign it, figure out, like, get a better design of how we want it to match into our scene, into our game. This was the first design. You have pictures of this. I want to just use this. Just going to kind of go straight into this. Hey Nova. Hey Captain Gray. Thank you, Todd. I'm currently just going to go ahead and, I'm just getting a brief outline of our current design. Just so I can kind of get an idea. Water wheel over here. So it's just like, then what do I want to do with this? Like, right now, the things that we're noticing about this space is that it feels kind of like a little bit soft and pudgy, especially compared to some of our other designs I've got going for some buildings. So we wanted to kind of like bring this into an updated style in a sense. And so with that idea in mind, let me give me a second. Yeah, you guys can't see that. Okay. So this is here's our building. Water wheel. Pretend there's water in this thing. Okay, so I'm taking this. Just gonna do that because I like to work in layers and be able to go back to my old stuff. So one of the things that we've looked at doing is actually making I'm actually going to bring this door, which is 2 mice tall, so I'm actually going to bring it up to about this tall. I'm going to get this little platform. I have an idea of some of the stuff I want to kind of do with this. So I like how we have this piece here, that's the rocks. I'm actually going to just kind of sketch it out a little bit farther. decided I wanted to switch out the doorway to have a different side there. That idea, actually, I really like the idea of just being some this. So this is set outside of this particular building, is set outside of Lily Grove. So we want it to match some of the buildings we've already designed for Lily Grove, in terms of styling. But it's also instead of being built primarily by mice and for use by mice, it is actually built by some shrews. And so we wanted to make sure that there's maybe some stylistic differences, but also because it's close enough, like the mice would have probably been at least a little bit involved. So like just getting a little bit of an idea here of what this could look like and like how this works with it. So one of the things that we actually worked on was the idea that, oh hey, this, like our first design made it a very symmetrical building. And one thing I was looking at, I was like, why does it need to be symmetrical? It doesn't have to be. But we're just taking this kind of like, I'm mostly just doing like a little bit of a, not like I said initially I was going to do paint over, but I'm kind of more doing like, here's the outline. I'm going to just kind of start from this as a basis. And part of it is so I can kind of keep the same kind of features for it. Maybe not features, but like size and proportions. Give me a second, I'll make sure that the... Yes, okay. I wanted to make sure that the music was going to be repeating. Hey Bob, today we're going to be actually working on redesigning a building so that it matches the style a little bit more. Or at least not necessarily the style, but matches more of what we're wanting to go for with our building, like our building style specifically, and what it has, so it'll match our style of buildings that from the local town, even though this building in particular isn't going to be from this local town or in this local town. So initially there was this big crossbeam here, which you can see is this giant crossbeam there. And I'm going to go ahead and getting rid of the windows that are down here. Actually, yes, there will be snow. Like you can see this building right here that's based off of, it has snow on the top right here. So yes, this one will have snow. It's actually what ends up happening is that this is a mesh, like the mesh will get like its own like snow layer that's added through a plugin in Unity. So I won't be designing this with the idea of snow in mind, but the idea like, hey, this is what this looks like, not just here, but a couple different places. So a while back we had a stream where we talked about a couple of art guidelines that we wanted to bring into our pieces. A couple of those guidelines I'll actually write down over here. One is that there's no straight lines, particularly when it comes to silhouettes. It's like you can see there's a nice curve for this roof, and yeah, steeper would be good for keeping snow off. So we want to make sure we're keeping this in mind. The other thing is that the structural supports are a little bit bigger than they might actually be. They're just going to be a little bit more obvious, a little bit thicker. So I'm going to say structural supports get more oomph. And why it's actually because they need more oomph, they need more oomph. just like that, because obviously it needs to be like oomph. They're kind of looking, yeah, they're looking pretty straight, and so with that idea, you point that out. So with that in mind, and you keep that piece there. I'm gonna move this over. So with these in mind, keeping it over here, I should probably go ahead. One of the things that we've been doing is actually going ahead and like, I'm gonna go in here, maybe do a little bit of a curves, adding in some curves like this. Like Bob, that's a good thing that you pointed out. It's like, hey, those are pretty straight. When I little like curved wall, just a little like tiny little like wall right here. And then I'm actually gonna also add, for funsies, I mean, it's snowy, so it's not going to have anything in it, but in the springtime, we can revisit this particular mesh. And this would technically maybe have some flowers in it. That being said, it's actually a mill and not like a house that's consistently lived in. So probably shouldn't like put little decorative pieces in the same way. Okay, so this big cross beam here, or this big support beam, I'll be honest, I'm not entirely happy with it as a general thing, so I'm gonna like kind of go, I want to get rid of the huge archway of it. And I'm trying to remember what the style is. Give me a second. So in Lily Grove, the Lily Grove houses that we're planning on working with, and working on in terms of the styling of those houses, we're going with this style called the Tudor style, which was a common style. It usually primarily wood and then also mud to create the walls, with maybe, and sometimes they use stone for a base. So it's a nice, it is a style that was common in I'm forgetting my time periods right now, or just the names of my time periods, which is not right, but Captain Gray, do you remember when the Tudor style is?
It's a deep-ish, right?
Hmm? Tudor.
1495 to 60.
So it was the time period, thank you for looking that up for me, was from the 1400s to the 1600s. And it's specifically for like the peasants that lived in in a couple of the villages during the medieval times. So with that in mind, it has some fun architectural pieces, but we're also kind of keeping that towards the bigger villages. Not the bigger villages, but like to the actual like Lily Grove village. And because it's not actually supposed to be a big village, but just a village. And also keeping it towards specifically more for mice. Like one piece we've talked about in terms of styling, is having buildings that are built by badgers versus mice versus squirrels and moles. Like between those four species, how can you distinguish which species built this place? And one of the things we're talking about was actually having it be because of the doorways. And we really like this shape right here because it's reminiscent of a mouse hole. We're like, oh hey, that's similar. And in this case, shrew. We want this to be built by a shrew. They're fairly close to the styling of. We want them to be closer to the mice style anyway. So while we haven't really like made a finalized decision for them. It's something that we've been talking about. The other thing we talked about is for Lily Grove, because they were a fishing village, they started off with a bunch of boats, and they decided that a lot of the roofs, at least initially, and some of our initial concepts, we've played with the idea that, hey, maybe they used the bottoms of these ships to create the roofs. And, well, again, it's a fun idea. The mill is not in Lily Grove, so probably doesn't have the same kind of, like, ship base. But this is still a fun shaping. So I'm gonna actually, like, make it so that this is not quite such a long or tall roofing. Like before, it came down to here, shortening it up. Make it feel a little bit like, it's probably not gonna have straight there, but that is also true. It's like one of the things that we liked about the Norse building style, but we also like about, like, in particular to Lily Grove, since it was a fishing village, and they first came here through some ships on the river. Okay, so you know how there was an arch here, except for it went all the way up here. I'm still going to use that arch idea, but instead I'm just going to make it a smaller beam. Like this. That doesn't mean that I want this beam. And then this is the part where I like a little bit of a digital artist. Like, well, I could just draw it again. I can also just copy. Copy, flip. Right about there. And hey, it's not cheating, it's just using my medium to the best of my ability. So one of the things that's fun about the Tudor style is that they actually make these spaces that are bigger on top than they do on bottom. Like their second stories typically are bigger. And in this case, I'm not going to make it too much into that. I'm not going to pull too much into that style. Maybe on a secondary concept I might, but for now I want to kind of keep this one just a little bit more like, hey, let's just keep it right here. I just realized, why would this door open this way? Definitely not there. Definitely needs to be over here. So that way it swings open like this. Like that would be a silly spot. Okay, so returning back to this, I'm kind of jumping around today. I can focus, but just a little bit. So I'm going to keep this particular bar instead of making it like this shape, I actually kind of want to make it a circle. I think that would be a little bit more, or in this case, I'm actually kind of probably go like this. Yeah, I'm gonna go like that. Thinking about the mesh, I will make sure that it ends up being like more of a hexagon shape. Not because the actual wood would be cut like that. That was something that we looked at actually into like a couple of different history videos about why were they built like that. And I didn't know. I never saw anything about the taxing part. That's really cool. It actually makes more sense because we found some like we understood like maybe why they would have those like smaller spaces because of like in the bigger like villages and bigger and even as they started to get more into like town sizes, where you had all your buildings like squished into each other because it gave you more space. But we've even found some freestanding buildings like barns that had the smaller base versus the larger top. But taxes would be a reason why you'd want to have a smaller base. Okay, so I'm going to start with this, kind of like or at least the roof now. Also, if I'm bringing this out, I'm just to have some support structures on there. Now our first version of this, I had an entire piece there. Oops. This. What I'm going to do here instead is I'm going to go like this. Because right now we have some support being drawn into the center of this building. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in those pieces. And I'm adding in a brief window because I just hadn't thought about it. There we go. Window shape like that. I'm taking out the shading really quickly before I'll figure out this space. And while I kind of like this right here, this big old giant like bump on the top, I think for now I want to scratch it. Maybe I'll come back to it. Yeah, that just feels like a little hair. Not a bad idea. I think I am I'm going to put this back in, just not nearly so dominant. Not quite so dominant a feature. Okay, so just kind of giving it a little bit, just like that, and a little bit more up here, and I'm going to erase it a little bit. Oh, not like that. So this roof is kind of just going back to this original concept for the roof, which was a straw one. And actually I can show you a little better. It's like our original one by going to Blender, which I already have the file brought up. This is our original house. But you can see how this roof worked out. Was that it was I had a bunch of straw pieces coming through it, and all of this kind of has this nice bulge feel. I say bulge feel, didn't I? I did. And overall, the shape is a little bit too soft, but that doesn't necessarily mean we can't use straw roofing. It's a legitimate way of putting roofs down, and so that's just something where we're like, let's go ahead and try and keep this up, maybe, or like one of the things I'm going to do right now is go back and start a new concept. After finishing this one off. It's actually one of the reasons why I kept this. I actually made a copy of this. So, and then the other thing I actually wanted to go ahead and add in a specific spot where, like on this side, where our mill ends up going in with, meshing in with this. What I do need to do is just come over here and match this up a little bit more. There. Do you mean the texture? Really glad you like that. Okay, so here is this. It's a little bit more squashed, but not by very much. Wait, if we match this back up, the only thing it doesn't have is this little top piece, which really, I think that's okay. We'll move this over a little bit so you can read that a little better. Probably our little defining piece there. yeah, I think this particular concept is... No, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood what you meant. Okay. Basically, any more work I do on this, unless I go for a different angle to make sure that it's completely readable by our modeler, I think that I think we get to go ahead and move on to the next concept or not. Okay, next idea. Which again, I'm kind of just playing with you, and to be honest, playing with these things. One of the things I did want to do, like I already raised that entryway up. One of the things that I felt like was kind of missing from our current one is that I was looking up some mill buildings, and they don't keep it all one size. They have different levels and layers, and it's one of these we're actually keeping with Lily Road too. So what I'm going to do for this one, let's take this, kind of bring it out a little bit more. Move this door over. Actually, I just had another thought. Again, we don't have to keep to a symmetrical design. So, I'm actually going to move this door. We have this.
Emily, were you able to talk with Brent? How'd that go? Able to sort out a bunch of...
So here's the doorway. Was it very large upside down pyramid houses? Sure. Yes, there was very large upside down pyramid houses. They usually didn't get more. He's talking about the Tudor style. How they have the houses that go up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first.
That's one way to put it.
Mm-hmm. So like when I kind of brought in a little bit of the Tudor into this variation, and that was so. They didn't usually get taller than what 2 to 3 stories.
I've seen plenty of 3. I don't think I've seen anything taller than that. But yeah. I don't know.
In terms of finding the reference images that we've looked at, there hasn't been anything taller than a 3-story pyramid house. And the other thing is that while they could expand in all directions, sometimes they didn't. Sometimes there's only only expanding on the front end, so like they went over like the front door type stuff, like basically adding a balcony that was a part of that was still part of the same room without having the. That's kind of what they did actually. It was just expanded out like balconies do. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. I don't know if this is gonna how this will work out. So I'm kind of like just erasing the roof for now because I'm just mostly getting the building structure in. And again, we also want to make sure that keep in mind that there's no straight lines, that there's structural support, and the structural supports get more oomph. Thank you, Nova. Appreciate it. I just have a little bit of some allergies, I think. Or just dust in the nose. Who knows? The nose knows. Okay, so I just had an idea that there would probably come down like this. I don't know how this is going to build into this structure yet. I just like the idea of here's a front section that isn't completely even with everything. So let's start with this. I'm going to get rid of that particular structural piece. I'm going to want to have a right here. Adding in a window. And I guess lining the doorway with the center. Ah, you mean by going like this and taking this whole thing? Just doing this? Let's first do this. Bring this more like that. I think that's what you mean. It's not a bad idea. And now the reason I'm facing the door, having the doorway. It's not that it's not against the style guide right now. But what I was saying is like the reason I go ahead and face the doorway this way is because this is actually the direction that you approach this mill from, and over on this side there's this giant old cliff wall. It's like, why would you ever want to have the door lead into the cliff wall? It just would be like annoying. So, or at least in my thought process. Let's see if this works out. Just. What about windows? Well, yeah, did I say something about windows? Well, I put this window here, and it's not made of glass right now. It's true. And the thing is that at this time, glasses would be very expensive, so the windows are actually just shutters. That's really in an open space, and so that's why I keep kind of coloring them darker. is because they are actually just, they're just like some dark, they're just shuttered in spaces. Inspired by something, or the idea of like, oh hey. Like I'm trying to keep in mind like windows would be good, but it's also a mill. So I think I don't know if windows are like, especially for a medieval mill. Why we don't know if windows actually are helpful for keeping like storage safe or whatever. But we are not architects. It's one of the downfalls of being a concept artist. Have to learn all about all of the things. Like I have an idea of how to do the Tudor style, but I've done a good bit of research for it. I know how to make things look like Tudor style, but probably doesn't even match up correctly. So one of the things we've actually had as trouble for the Tudor style is that the Tudor style has a lot of straight lines built into these mud walls, or into these walls, out of the wood out of wood and support beams. So it's like, well, how do we make these not look completely straight? One of the reasons why I've done a lot of those. One of the reasons why most of these are curved lines here. Like even these pieces, like this one and this one. They are very much intentionally a kind of a that shape. Not ideal for an actual house, but a little bit just whimsical when it comes to a not real house that's in a game. Being able to design your own house is always fun. That's why I play The Sims a lot. It's just to design the houses. Don't actually play out the things. Just design and lay out the houses. Would there be real mice for the cats to chase it?
Absolutely.
Like, if it's a super kitty dog house, super kitty house at least, there definitely needs to be some mice running around for them to chase. Okay, so I cannot remember what it's called when it comes out like this, but we're just gonna leave that. I am again cutting off this giant thing on the top. I'm not sure if I'm actually happy with how this particular design's like starting. Like it's going. Like I like this idea, but I don't think it's really panned out the way I would hope it would. You know what? Yeah, it's just not. It doesn't still feel like the same spiders, and this one still feels like it's got the same like initial pieces to it, but it doesn't feel nearly as chubby as the other one, as the initial design did. This one just isn't doing it. This one just doesn't look like a mill. It's starting to look more like a home. And this one still could be a mill to me, or at least a barn. Yeah, I think this is... I'll go ahead and attempt one more design. I'm going to kind of abandon this one partway through, guys. Sorry about that. I'm going to go ahead and attempt one more. Let's see what I can do with it. And actually, I think I'll keep to this same silhouette. I won't cut anything down. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and try and improve upon our current design. And that would be really fun. Just having the Redwall theme park. Okay, I'm going to pull from that other one where instead of this big large piece, have just a large support beam there. I'm going to give it a larger support beams here as well. Wait a minute, not up there. So one of the things I have to remember is, hey, this doorway is 2.5 mice tall. So this window really should be squashed down here. So that a mouse can even look, a mouse or even a shrew who's slightly smaller than a mouse can actually look out. And I guess I am again going to pull this up here, but that's, I think, part because I want to make sure that I want to pull up the roof a little bit. Just so that way there's a little bit more of the siding to be seen. Alright, so our current building, I can't tell with the snow on top, so instead I'm going to move over to Blender. And it does have a wood top. Why wouldn't we not have a feast on the first day too? We'd have to have feast both times, obviously, because we're all the feasting. Okay, well, the reason that the staircase got soft there is because of the snow. That thing. Those things. This piece had a piece that came down like this. But I don't know if I want to keep that. I'm trying to decide what I want to do for this top, because I mean, I could just do this. Oh gosh, it looks like a basketball right now. Just watch this. Watch this. I made a basketball for a wall, guys. Yeah, I made basketball. Okay, so that's going away. At least these pieces up here are. Just had a thought about this area. So what I'm trying to convey right here, which may not be as easy to tell, is I'm trying to do that. Give me a second. Here we go. So, this is the Tudor style. Okay, that's a very small image that I just pulled from Google. But as you can see, there's these pieces right here that pull out, and then they have these support pieces here. Well, that's what I'm kind of wanting to do right here. By the way, this is the Tudor style. This is what you can kind of get for it. I love that you guys are talking about you guys just making this an actual thing. I love it. You have at least 10 friends who would follow you. I love it. So the original design had a dot piece in there. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that as the final piece. this down just slightly. I appreciate that, Nova. I think I agree on that statement. Think thank you, Doral. Alright, I'm going to leave you guys now. Appreciate you guys talking and hanging out with me. Again, this is what we had before. Our give me a second. Our current model, and now we have a redesign. Here is just like one that we might like keeping with the very basic shape. Here's one that I started, and then I was like, I don't feel like this is going anywhere, so we kind of cut it off short. And then here, not that. And then here's this one, that is the more stylized, but also kind of keeping within the same thing, same area, like a little bit more alterations. It'll be fun to color this and get this into the model and actually model it and get it to a finished state and get textures in. But sadly we have to cut it off here. So I hope you guys have had a good time hanging out. I wish you guys luck, and I will see you again in I actually don't know when the next stream is. Give me a second. So, for the next stream, our next stream is it's next Thursday, but it's actually in fact tomorrow, in which we have a very special announcement coming out, that we will be talking about tomorrow. Hope you guys can join us here. It'll be here on our YouTube channel live, and it will be again at 1 p.m. Instead, I believe this will be Chris, who you guys might have heard talking a little bit earlier, but Chris will be the one hosting that one. We might hear me, might hear Jeremy, might hear some other people in the office, but I wish you guys happy holidays, and
Show me about your cat. Is that a no?
Yes, I hope you guys have good holidays and a good time. See you guys